welcome back. It's a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful life to live. And today we got another podcast for you. I mean, obviously, why would I be here if I didn't? The frequency of our podcast has slowed down a little bit, but that's really out of more of a dedication to bringing things through that I feel truly aligned to tell the story and people that I'm really aligned in talking to. And this particular episode is a friend of mine that has been inspiring me and doing incredible work for many, many years, Mr. Robert Roskind. And gosh, what a pleasure to have him on. He's an incredible person, and I'm really excited to share this with you guys and just kind of share his story. And such a magical guy, very inspiring. And so before we start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a clip of something that was played on the news in Jamaica about one of Robert's events. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, you're going to have to fill in the gaps a little bit because this is more of like a video intensive episode. So you can go check it on. This will be uploaded to YouTube as well if you want to see what's happening. Robert likes holding up a lot of pictures and showing stuff. And so you will be able to see it on YouTube. If not, you can listen to it here. It's a great place to do it as well, because I know podcasts are fun when we're driving or doing something or walking the dog, and we can just listen. So here comes the clip, and then we're going to get into the podcast.
February 6, 2005 would have been the 60th birthday of reggae legend Bob Marley. The occasion was marked by a huge concert on Knutsford Boulevard in Kingston. The night featured musical performances and poetry by many of Jamaica's top cultural artists. The concert was a collaborative event involving the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission and the Roskind family. Robert and Julia Roskind are Americans who first visited the island 4 years ago. They were so deeply impacted by the spirit of the nation that they have now become advocates of the One Love philosophy.
As I mentioned, we came here 4 years ago on a family vacation like hundreds of thousands of other people. But we left and went home with our faith in humanity restored after access to your culture and your people. Like all of us, we are not immune to suffering. It's that we represent the voice of millions of people around the planet who love you and love this country for the one love vibration you have sent out.
The Roskind family shares the government's belief, which is encapsulated in the Values and Attitudes campaign, that peace and love resides in all of us, and that if these qualities were allowed to come forth, the result would be a better society for all.
Living Indubiously.
It is your call. It is your game. It is your creation.
Oh my God, they're so indubious!
You have to have an optimal theory for playing the game.
Whatever you focus upon becomes your truth.
Welcome, everybody, to the Living Indubiously Podcast. Today, our guest is Robert Roskind, a personal friend of mine, someone who I love and look up to and draw great inspiration for in my life. Robert Roskind is an author, a mystic, and an international teacher of One Love, having produced over 200 free, non-denominational, nonpolitical One Love events at schools, prisons, Native American reservations, and public venues. Robert has written 12 books. That's impressive, including Rasta Heart, A Journey into One Love, and The Beauty Path, A Native American Journey into One Love, which was the book that I read, 12 years ago, and we ended up becoming friends because I reached out to you. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. And it was more than you just read it. You reached out to me and wanted to know when I bring the Gathering of the Peacemakers that I was doing to Ashland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Which really moved me because there's about a 30-year difference between the two of us.
Yeah.
So, for you at your age to understand what I was doing was a real big up for me. So thank you. And then we did the events in Ashland, and you performed at them with your brother and with Alcion Massive and all those folks.
That's right. Yeah, I just remember reading that book and really, it was kind of a tender time in my life of like, I was budding spiritually, and our music was taking off in Oregon, and I was just kind of finding my place in these energies and this feeling of a higher calling. And so reading that book, you drawing the connection between the Native American, societies and one love. There you go. Right there, the beauty path. It blew me away. I fell in love with the book. I mean, how often do you read a book and love it so much that you like look at the email on the back of the book and email the guy? But that's what I did. And I figured, this guy's probably going to get the email. Either he's not going to get it or he's not going to respond. This is some famous guy. And I sent you the email and you emailed me like right back the same day. You're like, hey, Evan, thank you so much. We should do an event together. And so the rest is history. We did our Gathering of the Peacemakers at the Jackson Well Springs. Gosh, I don't know what year that was. I would say probably around 2013.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been running this place for 10 years, so it had to be a year or two before then.
It's great to see you. We haven't talked in a while. We've kind of kept in touch through the internet, and man, I'm just so happy to see you continuing to thrive. It seems like a theme for you in your life that you are a person who finds the right vibe and manifests good things for yourself.
It is. And you don't retire if you awaken to the reality you came here to learn and teach love. No retirement. You don't want the retirement. Yeah. And the other thing is I've never been much of a self-promoter.
Yeah.
I never try to get my name well known. I always wanted to work. What I kept asking my spiritual team for from the other side is give me work to do. Sure. I don't need to have the fame. Just give me things to do. And that produced over the last really 50 years, but definitely the last 30, a great legacy of work that goes on to this day. And there's a rule set that I discovered inadvertently. I won't say discovered, that I remembered.
Yeah.
What I want to share with people today is how do you live a mystical, magical, loving life that's beyond your wildest imaginations?
I want to know everything you have to say there, man. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't want that? That's what I feel like. Well, I feel like I'm here for that. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, 100% sign me up for that program. I'm doing my best. I'm not as far along as the journey as you are, which is why I consider you an elder and a teacher, someone that I look up to. And, the idea of being here to teach love, that is something that's really an idea that I got from you, from reading your books and being friends with you, that I've carried with me all these years, brother. And I know that is my, it's really easy to make our path this complicated thing in our mind, but it's really simple to teach love and to teach, not just to teach love to others, but to find love ourselves and find that love so deep within ourselves that we're able to teach it, right?
It is. It's not a sprint. It's a long distance run.
Yeah.
Every day I have to remind myself. But I think my greatest masterpiece is this is my daughter.
Yeah.
I was able to train her from the get-go in this system. This is beautiful. Her Rastafarian grandfather, Bongo Roach, at 13 years of age.
Nice.
Imagine being mentored by Bongo Roach at 13. And then she opened up, as I'll tell you about, she opened up Bob Marley's concert in downtown Kingston on his 60th birthday. And she was the keynote speaker, speaking to 2 million people and 20,000 via video. TV, and 20,000 in front of us. So I'll tell you the stories. You want me to kind of let you know how this all kind of unrolled for me?
Yeah. How did you get into this line of, I don't even want to call it work. How did you get into this calling of being a international teacher of one love?
Well, I was a good little Jewish kid in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Pretty happy household. There was no real tension. In the 18 years I lived with my parents, there wasn't 1 minute of tension in the home. No one gets off that easy. And I learned how to manifest what I wanted. But then I had to learn something key because I was manifesting for the wrong reason. Then I arrived up here at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill from Atlanta. Here's what I had done. I was vice president of the junior class, president of the senior class. I built a houseboat so I'd have a party place when I was a junior in high school. I was a city welterweight champion, and I was Otis Redding's best friend. So that Otis performed, this is all in my hippie book.
Yeah.
Because Otis performed at my senior dance with a 13-piece band for free.
Whoa.
So I had learned at a very early age, because I didn't have a lot of drains, that all the things I envisioned, an apartment, could get an apartment, built a houseboat, also bought a horse, also, wanted to get deep into R&B. So I ended up magically best friends with Otis Redding.
Wow.
So when I arrived here at 22, and here's what I wanted from life, Evan. I wanted financial independence, be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And I wanted to marry a stunningly beautiful woman and have no problems and have great affection my whole life with no issues. That was the age of what I thought I could get from this culture.
Sure.
And I hate to say it, but Hugh Hefner was my role model. So here's
gosh.
Really. So I come up here riding this wave of manifestation, going, man, anything I can think, I can manifest. And there's a lot of things I want. So the first thing I did is I bought a piece of land 12 miles from where I'm sitting at 21 years old. And I started building A-frames. I built 3 A-frames. So I would be a millionaire by the time I'm 30.
Yeah.
So here's a college kid in his sophomore year, already building houses in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, around the lake. And there's pictures of them in my hippie book. And then something amazing happened that you and I would not be speaking if this hadn't happened.
Sure.
In the summer of my going into my junior year, some friends of mine called and said, we just got a thing called LSD from the UNC Med School. Which
I've heard of it.
By James Taylor's father. And would you like to try it? So I said, yeah, I just finished my finals. I'll go try it. So I go into town, and right around the corner here at the University Gardens, I go visit them. They had decided to put it off for a day or two, and they said, well, it's in the refrigerator in an Erlenmeyer flask. I didn't know. Evan, I thought it was like gin or vodka. So I poured a jigger full, put orange juice in it, and drank it. And when I went back in the living room, they said, oh, you were supposed to stick your finger in it.
Ooh.
And they said, you better decide if you want to spend the night here or whether you want to go out to your home, which was a beautiful setting on an A-frame that I had built myself on the lake. Great setting.
So how many doses of LSD do you think you ate?
I think it was somewhere close to 100, but an LSD expert said after about 8 or 10, it didn't matter.
Sure. Yeah. It's like
you can do 8 or you can do 1,000. You're not going to get any higher.
Yeah.
And here's what happened that turned my life around. First of all, I astral projected. Midway through the evening, that June evening, I'm looking at myself like I'm looking at you now, but it did not seem strange. It was kind of comforting presence during all this. And I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in spirituality. I was raised in a Jewish community after World War II. Nobody believed in God. Nobody. Yeah. Not the rabbi, not my parents. It didn't seem strange. And that started about sunset. All of a sudden, I heard a car door slam, and I looked to my right, and the sun's coming up. I had gone somewhere for 8-10 hours.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I go outside, and there are 3 black cinder block masons sitting on the cinder blocks. I had hired them to build the foundation for the other 2 A-frames. They're sitting on the cinder blocks crying. So I thought, well, it's a hot June day. Maybe you do cry before. You got to go out and put cinder June, North Carolina day. And I thought, no, that's ridiculous. They're laughing. So I walked up after 10 hours into the trip, and they were crying. And I figured maybe someone had a car wreck.
Wow.
And I looked at the lead guy, John. I said, John, what's the matter? He said, they just shot Bobby Kennedy.
Ooh.
And in an epiphany, in a moment, I knew my message. Like it came to me clearly. Bobby Kennedy was not a person of great substance before his brother's pain of his brother's death hit him. He was going out with women. They were all intoxicated with their fame and wealth and all like that. We watched that man transform to want to end the war in Vietnam, to want to end poverty in the South, even among blacks who didn't even vote. And I knew that if I didn't turn my life 180 degrees, I'd have to learn through pain too. That it wasn't about how much could I manifest to get more, but it was what can I manifest to give more.
And that came to you in that moment.
In that moment, it was crystal clear to me that I was going the wrong way and that I too would have to learn, because no one's going to cry more in my death at the low end of the economic scale when I died going, well, they may be impressed with some money I made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in that moment, I knew exactly what the message was. I completed the A-frames. I sold them. And I bought a school bus. There's pictures of it in the hippie book.
Yeah.
Aaron, would you get me a hippie book? I'll show you pictures on the cover. And I spent 7 years in that bus trying to integrate what I learned in that 2.5 days.
Wow.
So here's the bus.
Yeah.
Right.
So for those of you that are just listening to the audio, you can go to our YouTube and we're going to have the video up so you can see the pictures that Robert is showing.
Yeah. So, and I couldn't figure out how am I going to create a purposeful life in the moral and spiritual desert that was the American culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time near you. I lived in Wolf Creek, Oregon, in a commune. You know Wolf Creek.
My wife grew up in Wolf Creek.
She probably was a child of some of the commune people. There were 3 big communes in Wolf Creek. And we bought the Wolf Creek Inn. So it's funny that, then years later, 40 years later, we end up crossing paths right down the road from each other.
Yeah.
So, so what happened then is for 7.5 years, I refused to go back in, much to the dismay of my entrepreneurial upper middle class Jewish family and of course my parents. I refused to go back into this culture and pursue a career until I could figure out how to carve something that made sense to me to make that contribution. Sure. And then 7.5 years, I opened in Berkeley, California, the Owner Builder Center, which was a nonprofit school that taught people how to build their own home, passive solar. And I wrote my first book, which is a 650-page book on how to build your own home.
Wow.
Only an obsessive Jewish mind ever could do all this.
Wow, man. Yeah, you put in a lot of work
to do this.
Whew.
So I started the Owner Builder Center in Berkeley that taught everyone how to build their own home, how to use waste recycling, how to use passive solar. And I had about 20 teachers that taught from Santa Rosa all the way down to Santa Cruz. We had summer camp up in Nevada City, California. And we had a full-time staff of about 6 people. And it was very fulfilling, but I knew that teaching people how to build home was just a way stop. That was not my final goal. And for those listening, here's part of the rule set. You're never off your path. I don't care how much it looks ridiculous. I don't care what you're doing now because you got to earn money. I don't care if you're selling insurance, fixing cars or whatever you need to do to pay the bills at the end of the month.
Sure.
Believe me, you're not off your path.
Sure. I agree with that.
Yeah, because I forget, what were you doing before you and your brother took music? What were you doing for a living?
I was a loan officer for a mortgage company.
You were, and I bet you look back and realize there are things you developed during doing that.
For sure. I think that there's no steps backwards. Me and my brother talk about it all the time on the podcast. You might feel like you're regressing or doing, like, let's say you're trying to be a sober person and no longer drink. If you relapse and drink again, it's not necessarily a step backwards. You're giving yourself contrast and you're going, hey, I drank again and now I don't feel good again. It's whatever it takes to move on your path. It's just all part of the process. It can't all be peaches and butterflies,
Yeah, and you're never off the path. And some people like yourself and Skip, you guys, once you figured out what your gift was, you went straight for music. Mm-hmm. Well, my path to this day has been like this. I could see.
Well, my path feels a little bit more like that than I think you would expect. But so I can definitely feel what you're saying there.
But you knew what your passion was.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked at your documentary. That was incredible.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know if you had seen that.
Yeah, we
put a lot of work into that.
Mystic, what'd you call it? It was a great
Mystic
name.
It's Mystic Vibrosis.
Mystic Vibrosis. What an inspiring piece.
Yeah.
So what you developed in the core of your strength, going through that, has allowed you to be who you are and to have the moral authority to back up your words.
It's very true, man. I appreciate that insight. And it's like someone could look at that. Like when I was going through that, it felt like I was off my path or I was taking a step back. Right. So like you said, obviously now in retrospect, that was all part of the path. I was never off my path. I was right on it.
Absolutely. And you had a level 10 challenge. I've never had above a level 5. My challenges mostly occurred with businesses I started that didn't do well, or romantic relationships or marriage. Well, you were given a level 10.
Yeah.
And I know several other friends of mine that have been given level 10. When you conquer a level 10 challenge, you have a core of strength in there that someone like myself can only imagine.
Why do you think, Robert, that some people are given the level 10s? Do you think we decide that coming in, or do you think it's a greater thing than that?
Well, as you know, I've been on a spiritual path sincerely for 30 years, but really starting 50 years. And according to the information we're being given, when I say information we've been given, I mean from beings that are farther along, beings from other planets that are farther along, our brothers and sisters that are space family that are working with us now. I'm talking about ascended masters, Buddha, Jesus, these people, even some that maybe have preceded you in death, according to what they're telling us. And what they're telling us now is wonderful. I'll tell you about that as we get into this. According to them, here's what we do. Before we incarnate, we set our major goals. But free will is how we're going to respond to it. Okay, I'm going to need a lung transplant. I'm going to have my wife sleep with my best friend. I'm going to have, my business fail. Now, how you react to those situations is free will.
Yeah.
You're just setting the main events and the main people in your life. And then seeing, now that you've challenged yourself, you incarnate. Maybe you had an issue with jealousy in a past lifetime. So now you have your best friend sleep with your wife. Maybe you had needed to develop something within that only a level 10 challenge could give you. And then you incarnate, and you could have just as easily gone into deep drugs and never become who you are because of that challenge.
That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. And so what you do is, free will is how do you respond to the main challenges that you've designed into each incarnation, from what I'm told.
Yeah.
And these beings that are telling me that have guided my life.
Me too, brother. And you're on the right podcast for this. So don't feel like you're talking, woo-woo stuff. We're talking about channels and aliens and Abraham Hicks and the teachings of Ra, the law of one, and everything that you're into. You got that book right there, don't you?
Yeah, I have as Aaron App. When I saw Aaron Apke, I knew I could go all the way home.
Yeah.
Of course, it talks about the law of
There
one.
you go. The raw material. So everyone out there who's listening, he's holding up the book, The Raw Material, which is the teachings of Ra, which is channeled downloads that this team of people started making contact with I guess you'd call them an ancient civilization, a culture that has ascended into higher dimensional consciousness, 5D or 6D. I don't know exactly where they are, but essentially the entire Earth consciousness has become like one. They've kind of merged, so it's a collective of many souls.
60 billion. They said 60 billion. Of their fellow brothers and sisters. And Aaron's also very book to a book I've studied. I've studied this for 30 years.
A Course in Miracles.
You know, and this is, I mean, for people that I know your group is very preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, for someone to write 1,100 pages of pure one love without one contradiction, has been 7 million copies have been sold. No one's ever found a contradiction. If I could write, and I've been on the path 50 years, if I could write 2 pages at this level, in a way I have my own. And so that was another book that I looked to for guidance. And then this book, if you want this book here is the Cliff Notes for the Course in Miracles.
Okay.
And written by Jesus, son of Joseph. And this, rather than having to understand this, then you can go to this, and it has 365 daily lessons.
And what is that book called? I couldn't read it.
An Art of Spiritual Peacemaking.
Okay. And that's based off of A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Got it.
Same author. And then
same author.
My last book is A Guide for an Awakening Planet.
Mm.
And my contribution to this is this book here.
Yeah.
Now, here's the whole game. The whole game is simple. This is another rule set. The rule set is simply this: love cannot be taught. Love is us. Love is who we are. Love is the source that created us. The only reason that we forget this is fears. Fears are blocking that love.
Yeah.
What the Course in Miracles does, what the teachings of the Law of One does, what my book does, what all these books do is tell you, here is why all the different fears you have are not appropriate. Sure. And every fear you take, more of your natural love comes out. We don't have to teach it to you. So if you have a fear I had this fear for my whole life. You know, I told you I was close friends with Otis.
Sure.
I got so deep into Motown music, I was looking for my girl.
Mm.
That music told me, if I don't find my girl or my boy, if you don't find it, then you're going to be unhappy your whole life.
Yeah.
And if you find it, you're going to be joyous. And so
you're buying into the cultural narrative.
Right. And that's the fear. Yeah. And that caused a lot of pain and chaos in my life. Because, you know, and for most of us, we're lonely because we were told we're separate from the planet, separate from each other, separate from God. If we were Native Americans, we're one with God, one with the planet, one with each other. But those three mistakes, those three things that entered our consciousness makes us existentially and personally lonely.
Sure.
And in that loneliness, we convince ourselves that the relief from that painful loneliness is in one particular person in one particular relationship.
Yeah.
And who do you know or I know that doesn't succumb to that?
It's very common. And, you know, it's a hard lesson to learn because it's really easy to be caught up in the external, that there's something outside of us that's going to complete us. But I think that's it's kind of the human condition in a way, because it's what we need to overcome to become more than what we are, to take it to the next step of our collective awareness and consciousness, is to understand, accept, and integrate that it all comes from within. Our deepest, greatest, most truest loves is ourself. It's us. And when you can develop that and feel it and love yourself and take care of yourself in that way, man, all the other things fall into place, you know?
still working on it. It's not like I'm down to maybe the single digits or teens, but I'm still got those illusions. And
well, we all are, or we wouldn't be here.
Right, exactly. And the Course in Miracles and I wrote a book called In the Spirit of Marriage. Would you get me that, Aaron? In the Spirit of Marriage brings out the information for the Course in Miracles about romantic love. And they make a profound statement. The Course said, the ego's last attack, this is my book on the Spirit of Marriage.
Very cool.
Based on the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles said the ego's last attack on the divinity within. The ego is your belief in separation.
Yeah.
After a lifetime, it's in money, it's in power, it's in revenge, it's in acclaim. Then you hit a lifetime where you go, no, it's in love. It's in love. The ego, which now feels threatened, because love is unity, says, you're right. I don't know why we ever followed those other things. Now go find that perfect love outside yourself and that perfect mate.
Yeah.
So romantic love is the ego's last attack on your own divinity, which, by the way, doesn't mean you can't have a great relationship, great marriage, great affection. It means don't make it your God, because the very first commandment is thou shalt have no other gods but the divinity within.
Yeah,
and
it's a hard one for people to get.
76, and 4 months ago, I got into a romantic relationship with a beautiful 42-year-old woman.
Wow.
Who would be, and I would never come on to someone 34 years younger than me.
Wow.
And I'd be damned if I didn't watch the dredges of that come up then.
Yeah.
And it was great to see, and I got to articulate it and got to deal with her and say, look, God, after 32 years of marriage, you think I would not fall into that? But I got to tell you, I was falling into it too. And then we cleared it out. You know what I mean? And so it is a very strong, because of our loneliness. But one of the rule sets is to know nothing is going to limit your happiness. Not the fact that you didn't get her or didn't get him or they passed or whatever, other than your own mind. Because as you know, Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yeah.
None but ourselves can free our minds.
Sure. And, when we are externally focused in this way, it just really takes us out of the truth of reality. It's so easy to feel like, and not just with relationships, with any sort of self-worth that we're trying to find in life, trying to feel like we're enough through achievement or recognition or, financially building something for ourselves. It's really a dead end, because when you get there, you think you're going to get the thing that's going to make you feel the way, and you feel exactly the same way as the way you started. So there's nothing there for us. And I think and here's the thing, like you said before, we're always on the path. So even when we're chasing that stuff that we know, like we can say right now, that stuff is not going to give us happiness. Even though we're chasing that, it's still the path, because sometimes you have to chase it and then achieve it to go, oh, there's actually nothing here for me. It was a wild goose chase in a sense, but we have to experience that for ourselves, right?
And what you do, the course makes a great analogy. They said, you're going to find that person, and no one can understand the depth of our feelings for each other. No one can see the beauty in me or me in them than each other. And that's the special love relationship, which is, often you think your happiness is there. Often turns into the special hate relationship, and your unhappiness is in that relationship.
Yeah.
Course said that the third stage, which few people really get to, is the holy relationship, which is realize you've chosen a partner to learn to love that person unconditionally, as much as you can, so you can learn to love everyone the way you love your partner.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And you can have a great sex life. You can have a great marriage life. You can have have fun, dance on the beach. But if you can find that partner that would agree, why don't we remember that we've been brought together to make a holy relationship, so that all of our stuff comes up, so that we can learn to love each other unconditionally. And even if we were to go a separate way, the function of learning to love each other unconditionally remains the same, even if the form changes. And you're now my ex-partner. My goal is to still love you unconditionally. Maybe not want to see you again in this lifetime.
Yeah.
This is what it is with everybody. So the Course explains, this is the good news is it's the last one. But the tough news is that too has to be transferred or transmitted.
Yeah.
Transmuted into learning to love that partner unconditionally. And it's the hardest of all those relationships to do.
Oh, I know. I mean, gosh, it's not easy. I'm in my relationship. We have so many good times, and then we get in those argumentative states, and sometimes it's real hard to see. It's the most powerful mirror that there is.
It is, in every argument is revealing to you where you're not loving someone unconditionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the arguments are your teaching tools. Why am I judging her, or why am I judging him?
Yeah.
So that is, and I think I met your wife. You were married when we met.
Yeah, when we were married, when we had met, I was married to my ex-wife Nicole, and so since we have split, I'm now with my wife Amber. We've been together, going on 7 years now, and I have a daughter now, a 5-year-old daughter.
Well, and when we met, I had been married 31 years. Mm-hmm. The next year, we separated.
Yeah, which I did not see that coming from miles away, man.
Yeah, and it was amicable. We just knew that we had learned what we needed to learn from each other, and it was not a make-happy relationship. It wasn't bitter, it wasn't toxic, it wasn't abusive. We just, at 65 years old, said, why don't we pursue life without having to take the other's needs into account after 30 years?
Well, I'm glad that turned out well. It's rare that you have a separation like that.
Yeah, and I opened my One Love Botanical Lounge here.
Uh-huh.
And she went deep into meditation and yoga and the Course in Miracles, but I didn't have to amend what I was doing to make sure her needs were met, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And we have a beautiful daughter, who's 35. And dig this, my daughter has created that relationship. Let me tell you a little bit about my daughter. I trained her in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
At 24, she opened up the biggest yoga empire in Charlotte's history. Massive, 20 teachers, 48 classes a week, gift shop, everything.
Wow.
Then she opened a sustainable goods store. 28, she's burnt out. She sells to the guy.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. Too much minutia. She sells to the guy that put together Bass Pro Shop. She gets a backpack, Evan, and spent a year and a half traveling the world alone. Indonesia, the Maldives, Thailand, Portugal, everywhere alone. This is some of the miracles that happened.
Mm.
And then she buys a van, and for 6 months she travels van life in the U.S. And she calls me one day. She said, "Dad, I found my home." I said, "Tell me about it." So I found it in Paradise Valley, Montana.
Wow.
Which is right outside of Yellowstone.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there, man.
I said, it's got nothing to do with you. You got no people out there. You got different climate zone. She said, "Dad, you don't understand. If I live back in North Carolina, everyone remembers me from 2 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. Now when I'm with brand new people, they only know the person I am."
Yeah, there's something to that.
Yeah, and she's still good with the other people too who begin to understand that. Dig this. This is the kind of miracles I want to share.
Yeah.
We buy a 20-acre parcel that a spiritual movement called the Summit Lighthouse, or the Church Universal Triumphant, done by a woman named Elizabeth Clare Prophet, had bought 26,000 acres in Paradise Valley. She had divided it up to a 20-acre parcel so her cult or movement members could get land, and they built 7 bunkers. Well, we own one of those 100-person bunkers.
Wow.
25 feet below Alicia's property is a 120-person bunker. Now, if you read the hippie book, there's a whole chapter on Elizabeth Clare Prophet I wrote 40 years ago.
Wow.
When I encountered her at Mount Shasta, where she was doing a program down the street from you. So I'm writing the thing that when I was 22, I went down to Mount Shasta to hear this woman, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, channel the Ascended Masters. 40 years later, my daughter buys property that she happened to divide up, and we get one of the bunkers, which we now own. And when she comes and spends the winters with me, her and my son-in-law, James, spend the winters here with me and run the shop with me. I said, who did you rent your house to this winter? So I rented it to Elizabeth Clare Prophet's grandson.
So cool, dude.
So I'm going to start now telling you, so you know this isn't theory, the kind of miracles that happen.
Let's get into it.
So
let's get into it. You have such a rich, interesting life story. We're going to need like probably 5 podcasts to cover all of it, but
well, I had written in this book, Y2K. I was the country's leading expert on how to prepare for Y2K.
Oh, okay. I remember those years, man. Y2K. Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So now I had no plans of what to do because I thought Y2K was going to happen. So I had no plans for the future. I was at the time, that was 2000, that's 23 years ago. I'm 76. So, you know, it's 50 years ago. I was 50 something. So we take a trip down to Jamaica, just on a family thing. And I'm smoking a spliff going down the raft with the Rasta man, with me and Julia. And all of a sudden hit me. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a book on the Jamaican message of one love. How did the most tortured country in the world, that was a slave colony, birth the message of one love? Had no idea how I was going to do it. All I knew is that's what I was given. And that has produced not just one book, but as you know, 2 books.
Yeah.
And here's what happened. Here are the miracles. I go back to North Carolina and I have dinner with some friends from Florida up in the North Carolina mountains. And I tell this couple, I'm going to write a book on Jamaica's message of one love. I don't know anyone there. And Diane Rubin says to me, my brother-in-law is the most famous one love teacher in Jamaica. He's an independent senator who everyone loves, and he's been in the Senate for 30 years.
Wow.
What's the chance of that? Then I'm telling this couple in North Carolina mountains, and she turns me on to Trevor Monroe.
Okay.
If you look him up online, Trevor Monroe is probably the most loved politician ever in Jamaica's history. Awesome. That began the journey. What happened is I then went down and I met with the elder Rastas that I was guided to, and I wrote this book. Now here's the second miracle. The chances of this miracle happening is 1 in 7 billion. Here's what happened. If you Google my name, Robert Roskind, you'll see there's 2 of us. There's me, and there's another Robert Roskind, my cousin Bobby, who runs a billion-dollar company out of Manhattan. But he's a good guy, and I've always been close with him. He drives in every day, sharing a joint with his chauffeur. He's a businessman, but Bobby and I have always been close. Cool. He calls me and he says, "Cuz, you're not going to believe this story." I said, "Tell me." He said, Rita Marley, Bob's widow, was going through the Montego Bay airport this morning when she saw you use Bob's picture on the cover without permission. Whenever any of the Marley family sees that, they call the #1 entertainment lawyer in the world, Peter Shukott. He does Lady Gaga, he does McCartney, he does the Marley family, and they tell him to sue that person. So she got off the plane in Miami Beach a few minutes ago, and she called Peter Shukott and said, "I want you to sue a man named Robert Roskind for using Bob's picture." Bobby says, "Peter Shukott is my best friend. We went to Penn State together. We went to Wharton together. We go out at least once a month here in Manhattan." And Peter, now remember, there's 7 billion names on the planet. There's only one name that could have stopped this lawsuit. And if that lawsuit hadn't been stopped, I wouldn't have done any of the 54 events I later did in Jamaica.
Because you got put in touch with the attorney.
So Peter So Bobby gets a call from Peter. Peter said, Rita Marley wants me to sue you. He says, oh, that's the other Robert Roskind. He's on the same vision that her husband was on. He gives all the money to the elder Rastas. Let him be. And Peter says, I got it. He calls Rita Marley and says, Rita, I've known this family for 50 years. They're straight up people. This man is on the same mission your husband was on. Let it be. And if she hadn't have done that, then I went on to do 54 free events in Jamaica. And here's a picture, I doubt you can make it out, of me and Rita speaking together in Jamaica.
Mm.
So not only was I that lawsuit that would have stopped my activity, stifled by 1 in a 7 billion chance, I was endorsed by a New York Manhattan lawyer. You don't get endorsed better than that.
Yeah.
So they went, so now I've got, this situation now. That's 1 in 7 billion.
Yeah.
I write the book, and then here's the next miracle, which is like phenomenal. So what I'm telling people is there is a drawer full of miracles that has been assigned to you when you remember the following. Who am I? Where did I come from? What's the assignment? We are beings of unconditional love. The source of us, God, creator, which I can't fathom how any mind could put all these details together, is unconditional love. That's my source. That's God, creator, whatever you want to call it. And the assignment is to come here and teach that love. Mm-hmm. When you get up and say, I want to take that assignment with all my available time, energy, and money, I want to be used to bring that love to this planet. Then you have opened up a drawer of miracles that will blow your mind. Here's the next miracle. So now I'm endorsed. So when the book's out, I'm thinking I'm going to go down to Jamaica and I'm going to introduce the book in Jamaica on Bob Marley's 57th birthday. And I'm going to do it in his home, which is tourist attraction in Kingston. Have you been there?
Yeah. I haven't been there, but I know that's the biggest tourist attraction in Jamaica for sure.
So I go down there and I knock on the door of the manager of the Bob Marley home, Barrington. Here's a picture of the home. Or you can look it up online. That's the home. Mm-hmm. And I knock on his door and say, can I use the home for Bob's 57th birthday in 2003, I think it was, 2002, on his birthday, because I want to assemble your teachers of love in his backyard to big up his message, because you're starting to listen to dance hall. And the reason Jamaica is such an amazing place is that at this moment, everyone in Jamaica knows every word to every one of Bob's songs. And every song is a sermon. You're going to lose that if you start listening to Vibes Cartel and Beanie Man and all the slack artists.
Yeah.
So I want to get your teachers of love. I got no credibility here. I want to bring your teachers of love together in the backyard and on his 57th birthday and remind people that all around this island are big pictures of Bob on billboards that says, One Love, Jamaica's message to the world. And you're the murder capital right now per capita.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. And so I go down, I knock on the door of the manager and tell him my vision. I've been given this vision. I don't know why, I just want to do it. Jamaica had a huge impact in the 2.5 years we wrote this book on my daughter, on me, my wife. And I want to do this. No one uses the home but family. No one's ever used it since Bob's death except family. Figured, well, that's that.
Turned down.
I'm walking out, and who happens to be sitting on the curb in his front yard? Stephen Marley and Junior Gong, Damien Marley. What's the chance of that? They're smoking the joint on their father's front stoop. So that's me and Scram is the guy I'm putting this together with, and the elder roster in the book, go up and tell them what we want to do. We want to invite you and your family and other teachers of love like Luciano, Mortimer Plano, Denroy Morgan, all these people to rally behind your father's message on his upcoming birthday. Can I get your grandmother's number, because the manager said only Mama B, his mother, could give me permission.
Yeah.
Come on, we don't give grandma's number to no white man looking like he just stepped off the golf course. Which I get it.
Yeah.
I don't have dreads. I don't have a name recognition. 2 turn downs, 10 minutes. I'm walking away, and there's a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around. There's an elderly Jamaican man. He said, I heard what you just told my nephews. I think my nephew Bob would want this place used for your idea on his birthday. Here's Mama B's phone number. You call Mama B and say her brother John said give you a listening ear.
Nice.
What's the chance of that?
Well, I mean, you had someone in your corner.
Mama B, she said, well, my brother said to call me. I'll give you a listening ear, but you're not going to get a yes. So I traveled 7 hours across, going to the Rebel Salute first in Jamaica, a big concert that Tony Rebel puts on. Here's my friends. I'm taking the picture. Here's my friend Scram with Mama B. And I tell Mama B what my vision is. And when it was done, and she was with Diane Jobson, who was Bob's lawyer and confidant. She didn't like the idea. She said, you stay in the United States, tell your own people to be more loving. You don't need to come down here and tell us that. I said, well, then Bob should never have left the island. You're saying whatever government, whatever politician says is my country, I have to stay in my country. Then Bob should never have gone out of Jamaica. Just because some politician said I'm an American and this is my country, I'm a citizen of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not American. I'm a member of the human race. So is everybody. Yeah. And I said, Mama B, I'm expecting to know. Don't feel bad. I wanted to meet you anyway, and I recorded everything and put it in this book. And but can I? Would you, if you feel drawn to, I'd love to use the backyard. And she sat there, Evan, for 2 minutes. It felt like 2 hours, and said, knew what she was doing. She couldn't decide. Am I going to break, for the first time in history, my tradition of not letting people use the facility for a white guy with no dress? And then she says to me, you're on the same mission Bob was on. It ain't going to be easy for you. It wasn't easy for him. But you've heard the calling and you've answered the calling.
Yeah.
And I want you to use the facility for that purpose. And Bob, who was buried in the second most popular tourist attraction in Jamaica, where she's living, where Bob was born, and where he's buried in a crypt with his guitar on top.
Yeah.
And tourists come out, and she lives on that property. She says, now I want you to go. I want to have the guides take all the tourists away from the crypt. I want you to go up and spend a half hour with my son in his crypt while I make you and Scram lunch.
Wow.
I mean, I'm getting guided by something.
Yeah.
This just couldn't happen. So now we do the first one. It's on YouTube. I wrote a whole book on it. It's on the 57th birthday. And I wrote this book called The Gathering of the Healers. And I invited Luciano, Mortimer Plano, Denroy Morgan, Abijah, Antoinette Hartland, the Oprah Winfrey of Jamaica, here the El Rastas, to join me. Why did they join me? Because I had Bob's backyard. So when I went and asked a lot of people who teaches love in Jamaica, who are the main teachers of love, and got these names, and I went to them and said, I'd like to invite you to join me on Bob's 57th. I have his backyard. I'm endorsed by Mama B.
Yeah.
I was endorsed by the lawyer.
Man.
They all agreed to do it. So now I've got one event. That's all I thought I'd do. One event, thank him, all like that. It was covered by 4 radio stations. We all spoke, talked about the importance of Bob's message, and bring that message into our life. And I get a call when I go back to the States from Joseph Forstermeyer. Joseph is the head of the Jamaican Hotel Association. He said, we like your message. We like what you're doing. We want to help you. I said, look, I don't take money for this. I don't charge money for this. No one pays to come. And I can't have a One Love concert sponsored by the Jamaican Hotel Association. It doesn't ring true.
Right.
I said, look, we don't want any recognition. We just want to know if we give you free room and board every time you come, would you do more concerts?
Aw, that's so nice.
54 concerts later.
I mean, what a warm hug from the universe, right?
Really. 2.5 years, 3 years, 54 concerts later, it closed.
54 concerts.
54 concerts.
Wow.
We were serious. Every time my daughter got out of high school, we would go to Jamaica. We'd have one concert at a ghetto school in the morning, one in the afternoon. We were interviewed every time we arrived by all the press, including Beverly Manley, Michael Manley's former wife, the first lady of Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
We were interviewed for an hour on her show every time we arrived, and we set up concerts. And it was a high. We're going out with these reggae artists, bringing the message of one love to the ghetto schools. And on the 58th, 59th, and then the 60th, we did these big concerts. So here's what happens. What a trip. 3 years bringing my daughter and my wife and going with these very high level teachers of love. So you're a teacher of love. You have made a full-time commitment to take all available time, energy, and money to use and to be used to teach love to the planet. That's why you recognized me and I recognized you. There's not a lot of people that have just gotten to that level. Not a lot.
I appreciate that, man.
You know, anything that I have available, I got to pay my bills, I got to take care of the kids, whatever. But I'll spend the rest of my life with the rest of my energy bringing forward this love, not only because I know I'm supposed to do it, it's what I incarnated to do, but it's an amazing life.
Yeah.
Why would you do anything else?
I mean, once you get a taste, brother, it's like you know, this whole idea of free will. It's like, yeah, I got free will, but I don't feel like I got a choice. Nothing else feels this good, has this richness to it, brings so much joy and peace and love to the world. Why would you ever want to do anything other than that?
Really? I mean, nothing can compare to it. And to see the effect that you're having on people. We grew to such a presence on the island that if we were eating out, people would come up and thank us. Any school we called would say, absolutely come. Anything we wanted to do, we could do and got the support.
High esteem. Yeah.
Now imagine this. Here is a unknown white family from a former slaveholding state, North Carolina, going to a former slave colony and saying, we've been sent to big up the message of your favorite.
Yeah.
The concept's absurd.
Yeah. Well, it's people look at that as like the white savior syndrome, right?
Oh, and that's what happened. And I actually worked with that white savior. That's why I stopped after 54. On the 54th concert, on Bob's 60th, the government of Jamaica cordoned off all of downtown Kingston for me.
Wow.
And had 20,000 people gather, had every TV and radio station carried
20,000 people, huh?
In front of us, 2 million watching. They built this huge stage with Bob Marley, The Legend Lives.
Wow.
If I didn't have pictures, you'd say it couldn't be true. Here's me and the Prime Minister of Jamaica, P.J. Patterson.
Uh-huh.
Here's me and P.J. Patterson at a press conference with Stephanie Marley, Bob's daughter, announcing it.
Yeah.
And when the concert opened with a 60-piece orchestra, my 17-year-old daughter was the keynote speaker.
Wow.
Now, imagine what I just said to you. It's like blows my mind.
Yeah.
17-year-old daughter of mine could be chosen to open up the biggest concert in Jamaica's history with her message of one love.
So, Robert, at what age did you start noticing that your daughter had this inclination or ability or even interest in this type of thing?
She was always there. To tell you the truth, Evan, she's farther along than me.
Yeah.
She's farther along than me. I recognized it very early. I only had to discipline her once for eating allowing food at a plate. That kid was always awake. That kid
Man, I have to discipline my daughter once at an hour.
You just never know. She's married a guy. I mean, just to show you, to give people encouragement, Alicia Went through, by 34, she had gone through a lot of relationships, none that looked make happy to me.
Yeah.
And she's a big Fish fan.
Uh-huh.
She's going to go down there with the guy that I knew would not make her happy. But
Sure.
she had it up and said, forget it. I'm going to sell your ticket. You're not going to Mexico to the Fish concert.
Yeah.
She puts it online and sells it to what's now my son-in-law.
Mhm.
And this guy had gotten into the illusion. He was an executive in Manhattan with the big motorcycle, with a trophy wife, making big money with a pool on his terrace overlooking Manhattan, when he got a health thing that lasted, like you, 2.5 years. He had a kidney transplant, 3 hip replacements, lost 50 pounds, had to get a new immune system. It was a genetic problem. And for 2.5 years, he had to crawl to the bathroom. He had no hair. He lost 50 pounds. And then the other side, that 2.5 years, he knew what was important in life.
It has a real powerful way of bringing you right to your core of what you're here to do. Because if it's going to be taken away from you, you go, okay, well, what am I really here to do? It forces you into that position. I mean, or it forces you the other way, right? But
yeah,
we get to make that choice.
Makes you a victim, or you ask, what? This is another rule set. Everything's happening for you.
I love it, brother. I say it all the time. And, part of the whole living indubiously message is the universe is conspiring for your greatest good, always.
No matter, I
that
had to get a hip replacement this year. You had a lung replacement. I got an infected spider bite, and I was only at 50% for a year now. Now it's pretty much over.
You look great, man.
By the time I got that at 75, Evan, what I said is, okay, I'm going to be sidelined partially for quite a while.
Yeah.
For 2 days, they thought they may have to cut my leg off.
Ooh.
And
Scary.
but I knew then, after I got over the shock of it, why is this happening for me? And it became clear I needed to spend more time alone at home so that I would deal with 3 issues that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Existential loneliness, personal loneliness, and the need to accomplish things every day to validate my self-worth.
You and I have that same one.
We
have that same one, brother.
It's
from the same cloth.
I've been sidelined.
Yeah.
Everything is happening for you. We're not a victim of the world. We're the creator of the world. And it is, no matter what kind of pain you're in, whether you need a lung transplant, whether you need in his case, a kidney transplant, whether you almost get your leg cut off, whether your car broke this week. If you will ask, what is the lesson in what appears to be pain, it'll appear for you.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I'm a veteran of that. I can tell you it's there.
And I'm that right there with you. So anyone listening to this right now, this is your invitation to look at things in a new light, to take your God-given power. And that's the powers in faith. It's not, it starts with believing in yourself, but really believing in yourself. We are all that is. We are sparks of the divine. So believing in ourselves is believing that it's all happening for us, man.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing that that's the way it's set up?
Oh gosh. I mean, what a blessing. I mean, just
to do that. I mean, if our mind's this big, the mind that can put all that together and make sure I don't get busted by the Marleys for this and make sure that his sons are out there is like from here to Ashland.
To even fathom it's impossible. It's hilariously complicated and magical and divine beyond the human ability to understand.
Really can't. Yeah. And let me tell you how big it. Now, remember, I started with writing my books in Jamaica with people living in lean-tos, elder Rastas.
Okay.
We were teaching one love. When it's finished, the Governor General, Jamaica is a Commonwealth of England, and the Crown appoints a Governor General like they do in Bahamas and other places.
Yeah.
General Sir Howard Cook, who represents the Queen of England, the Crown of England, was speaking at my events. I started with people that were cooking their food over a tire rim with charcoal and ended up with the head of state. Here's a picture of my daughter and wife with Sir Howard Cook. And what I did is I invited 200 leaders in Jamaica, political leaders, social leaders, business leaders, to claim themselves to teach love. And by then I had become close with Sir Howard Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Another situation time doesn't allow me to tell. And I told Sir Howard Cook, if you will be my keynote speaker, that room will be full of all your leaders. And you've been named as a teacher of love because you are. You were principal in a school for 40 years before Queen Elizabeth made you the Governor General. If you will be my keynote speaker, they'll all come to listen.
Mm.
And they did. And I think I put that on YouTube. So here I'll close out on the Jamaican chapter, because imagine starting out writing a book with guys living in lean-tos, doing 54 events, ending up with my daughter opening the concert, ending up with the Governor General of Jamaica working with me. And then I realized after Bob's 60, it's just like you said earlier, they did not need a white family leading the way anymore.
Mm.
You were just a catalyst to help their people. And we had breakfast with all the people that were going to be on stage that night at the 60th. And I told them, when we leave here tomorrow, we may never return.
Yeah.
My work is done, and I have no idea what the Creator's got for me next, but I know that it's not meant to go any farther than this.
That's very inspiring, Robert. You know, it takes so much faith and trust and listening to get yourself into the situation where you're bumping elbows with the community leaders and the elders and manifesting these incredible events. And then it takes even more faith and courage to listen and say, now it's time to close this chapter because something greater is calling me. That's tough.
It was hard. We were going to move there. We had gone down and met with the school Alicia was going to go into. We were looking to lease houses. I was going to spend my life trying to heal Jamaica with one love.
Yeah.
When it hit me, no, you're not supposed to do that. Your work here is done. I don't know what's next, but you need to stop after 60th. So what happens next was just as incredible. And that's the book you read.
Yeah. Gosh, such a good
What
book.
happened is I didn't know what the next chapter would be, but I had heard that there were two tribes, one on the Mesa, the Hopis, and one at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, the Havasupai, that were big Marley fans, reggae fans. So I went out to see what that was all about, and that ended up to be 2.5 years working with the elders of the Hopis and the Havasupai and writing this book. But it gets better. Here's how I saved the Grand Canyon. I mean, this is, you're being used. So I'm working with these tribes. You've read the book, you know the story, I think.
I do.
And the elders, the Havasupai, live on the floor of the Grand Canyon. Other tribes didn't even know there was a Native American tribe down there until National Geographic wrote them up. They've been down there.
Because geographically, there's such a separation there, the wall of the canyon.
Yeah, you can't drive to their village. You can get within 11 miles of the village, and then you either got to go helicopter, foot, or horse.
Yeah.
All their stuff is brought in by helicopter and horse, all their food and everything. Is 800, only them speak their language. English is a second language. They've been living down there until the 60s. They were living in mud wickiups, living off the land. Other tribes didn't know there was a tribe in Arizona living off the land still.
Yeah.
They were the last freshest footprint of the Native Americans in this continent.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down there to see why they were Bob Marley fans. That led to me doing, as I did in Jamaica, free concerts for them. So I get a call from the elder there, Roland I forget his last name now anyway, Roland Montacondra. He said, Robert, the Bureau of Indian Affairs wants us to sign a document that would allow uranium mining on our reservation, because without that, they can't do it. And they can't do it anywhere in the Grand Canyon unless we sign off. And they've got 65% looks like they're going to vote, because they said, we're going to move you to the plateau, give you a nice house, give you a truck, give you air conditioning. Things are going to be great. We're only asking you to sign the document. And he said, if that happens, the Grand Canyon will be unusable from our reservation on.
Yeah.
So I helicoptered in 6 loads of equipment to the village, and I hosted a One Love event on the floor with Uproot. I don't know if you ever heard of Uproot. They're out of Yuma, a reggae band. And I brought in the sound system. I brought in, here's a picture of the helicopter getting ready to pick up the equipment.
Cool.
Here's the sound system and the staging and the lighting and the band equipment. Reclaim the Grand Canyon. And I the Hopi elder Radford Kwahamnawa, who they have great respect for, and I flew in Uproot from Yuma, and that night we hosted a One Love concert that the Bureau of Indian Affairs gave me permission. They had no idea what I was about to do.
Right.
So we get the whole tribe into the square. We're hosting this wonderful free concert, and all of us gave the same message. The Hopi elder gave the message. My wife at the time gave the message. I gave it. The Hopi elder's 22-year-old daughter gave it. And that is, you have said that the name Havasupai means the guardian of the heart of Mother Earth. That's what your name means. And that you were given by prophecy that you would be hidden away. And until the 1960s, you were really hidden away. The one event that you were created to guard the heart of Mother Earth is this event. Because if you vote for this event, you have not guarded the heart of Mother Earth. And we're asking all of you, do not vote for that thing to happen.
Yeah.
And I looked in the back, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs police officers were freaking out. Saturday night, they couldn't do anything. They're running around looking for the circuit breaker box. They realized I was going to sabotage their whole plan because the Bureau of Indian Affairs wanted this lease.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it. And then next thing I know, I look back and they're dancing to the music. Like, what do we care? We're just getting paid by the BIA. It's not our fault anyway.
Yeah.
And they voted it down, and the Grand Canyon is safe.
That's incredible, man.
You know? So the rule set is this. One of the many rule sets is offers. Let me tell you how beautiful it is. When you surrender to spirit, when you surrender to the angelic assistance that you're getting, when you surrender to higher evolved extraterrestrial, when you surrender to the creator and say, use me to bring this love to the planet, it becomes choiceless. What do I mean by that? You don't have to make a choice. They will light the way so clearly what they want you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I've said this so many times, brother, that's such a beautiful story. It's like, I don't know. I don't really feel like there's so much free will that goes into my decisions. Maybe that's the difference between people like us, or, I feel like we are set on a path from inception. I felt like everything has all of my, my health stuff, just my life experiences has pointed me in this one direction. I'd have to be, mentally disabled in a way to not understand what was going on and say yes.
It is. I mean, it gets to be, and just so everyone knows, I forget this every day. I forget this every hour.
Yeah.
I'm sure, imagine you do too.
I do. I really, truly do. It's not, even enlightenment. It's not like enlightened, boom, done. Like, you have to maintain that. You can slide back to wherever other place.
Yeah.
So but maybe that's where the free will comes in.
Here's the key. If you can just get the 51% faith instead of 51% fear, then that will be your decision maker.
Tips the balance.
Action. Now, here's the great news. And Aaron Abke was the one that presented this. Aaron Abke said the people that did the Ra book have told him this book.
Yeah.
Aaron House, the people that wrote this book,
the raw material,
6 of them, have told him the following. This is great news. That sometimes around 2012, and I also wrote a book with Mayan elders on 2012. Sometimes around this period, guess what happened? 51% of the people on planet Earth were 51% service to others. That means the majority of the people, barely, the majority of the people were majority trying to help others.
Yeah.
That happened. That became the dominant vibration on Earth for the first time in 5,000 years since we destroyed the Native Americans and the other indigenous people who were living that way.
Yeah.
So the reason at this time when things look so incredibly bizarre and so incredibly frightening, when these psychopaths have taken over the levers of power everywhere, the only way this is going to come around is a miracle. And as you know from the Course of Miracles, every bit of unconditional love is a miracle. And the miracle is happening now because finally humanity is 51% or more in the right direction. The winds have shifted.
Right.
And these mentality that for 5,000 years have put the Bible in Latin and convinced us that they had the royal right to divine right of kings, and that they had the right to buy off all our congressmen and do all this. Those people no longer have the winds in their sail, and they're not going to pull it off. There's going to be a lot of mess. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming down, but they're not going to pull off this attempt to enslave.
They've already lost the battle. I 100% agree with you. And I think the reason why things look so crazy lately is because it's the dissonance that's happening in the space between our collective octave shift to the next density. Because what happens is it's like when if you're going to do a cleanse, right? You're going to break out in a rash and get a headache because you got all the funky stuff coming to the surface. We have the funky stuff coming to the surface right now because we're seeing it for the first time. So we have the ability to deal with it and move forward. And what it looks like to a lot of people that aren't optimists, they go, oh, well, the world's going to shit.
And at the macro view, it's going to look like that for a while. But in your own life, you start being 51% faith. You don't have to be 100. Thank God we don't have to be 100%. I'm not saying you got to believe this all the time. But if you can get 51%, your life comes under protection.
Yeah.
You can't coat the world with leather, but you can make a pair of moccasins. So what you need to know is, it's going to get dicey out in the streets. We already seen a lot of our stuff with.
Can't coat the world with leather, but you can make a pair of moccasins.
But you have a path of protection by doing everything you can to get rid of every fear that you can get rid of. So love is coming out more and more. And we can't hate them. You know what I mean? We can't rail against them. If you feel drawn to go, and Aaron said this too, if you feel drawn to go out and protest, fine, do. But what you have to do is not let them drag you into fear, anger. Because if they drag you into fear and anger, guess what? You're blocking your love.
Well, you're right there. You join them. You join them right in their misery.
So, these people that we all know the names at this point, we all know what they're doing. And you got to look at them like you're just, my younger brother and sisters who came here to give the contrast, who came here to create the situation that would put us in a critical point so we could go ahead and get this thing straight now. Mm-hmm. And Aaron does such a good job of explaining that part of this.
He's an incredible teacher. His ability to digest information and explain it, he's incredibly talented.
It is. I mean, I just found him about maybe 3-4 months ago.
Yeah.
And I just love listening to that man.
Yeah.
He's
a great teacher.
Exactly spot on, and then you get into this amorphous world with, you're saying, wait a minute, you're telling me that only love is going to fix the scene? I'm going, yep. And guess what? That was the only thing that ever was going to do it. And that's what we came here to learn.
Well, it's the only thing that's ever done anything. We're made of love. We come from love. The fabric of the universe is held together by love. We are the vibration of this beyond magical spark of divinity, which is love, and we are the micro manifestations of it. And who knows how many other planets and realities. There are an infinite level of life experiencing life. And even, so here's the thing, it's like, even the situations that feel like the opposite of love, the hateful, grudgeful, dark places, is just love trying to find its way. And we have the ability to transmute all those situations. The darkest, heaviest, worst things that come to us, they're the opportunities. They're the opportunities for us to find that love and bring it and heal it.
And when you do, you will see the same kind of miracles. I mean, look at you. There's a part of you that shouldn't even be on the planet now.
Yeah.
You know, and I looked at that time when you were skipping and playing after your lung transplant. Phenomenal. You know what I mean? And the part where you're still in the hospital, hooked to IV, and then the next thing you know, you're somewhere just skipping and playing like a 10-year-old kid. And then all of a sudden your music starts to come together and you get this following in your area of the country and elsewhere of Indubians. And all of a sudden people are picking up your vibe and your brother's vibe and the rest of the band's vibe are going, this music is more than just music I like. This music is carrying a message to me.
Yeah.
And that message is the same that Bob's music carried.
Yeah.
That the Native Americans saw like that. And then you and your brother and the group are now bringing that message out to the world in a beautiful form. You know, that moved me. I mean, the nights that I heard you out there was great. Alcyon Massive, same with Cornflower.
Yeah.
All the people out there.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone has this path. You may decide that you want to do that, and your goal is to raise 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
You may decide that you're going to start a new business. It doesn't have to be music. I use music, other people's music, you use music. It doesn't have to be in a public setting. You know what I mean?
It doesn't. It doesn't have to be something that, you know, our paths and our magic comes in so many forms. There are as many unique configurations as there are souls in existence, right? And so I don't want anyone listening to this to go, oh, well, if I don't do something big in the public eye, then I'm not fulfilling my path, because it has nothing to do with that. That just happens to be how you and I relate to the world. But, you know, just the job of raising kids, there is no bigger, better, more amazing job than that. That's a calling for so many people. Yeah.
And, you know, and like, I'll give you an example of where that happened for me. I wrote a book called The Spirit of Business. And it was put out by Celestial Arts.
Okay.
I get a call from the owner of the company. Oprah Winfrey's manager just ordered 150 copies of your business book, taking their entire staff to Hawaii to study your book, because Oprah at that time was a student of the Course in Miracles.
Yes.
She was getting bashed in Variety and Billboard because she was running a fear-based company, and she would take it and turn everything around and use my book for the format.
That's so beautiful, man.
And she's going to call and have you on the show. And my publisher says to me, Robert, she makes every author, but she's never had an author that she made mandatory reading to her staff.
Wow.
She calls to have you on. I'm printing up 500,000 copies.
Woo.
So I'm thinking I'm going to be the next Dr. Bob.
Yeah.
Next
Dr. Phil.
And a year goes by and she doesn't call. And then the publisher calls her and calls the woman that ordered the book, said, look, Oprah loves the book. She's talking all the time. She'll call when she's ready. Don't call back. That's been 14 years.
Any day now.
Yeah. I used to kid my wife. I said, well, on my gravestone, put Oprah never called. But I'm glad she didn't call. If she had called, I'd have gone to Marriott's and sold my book and given my wisdom to everybody in the Marriott and come home with all kind of money and be able to do all these shows. I wouldn't have gone to Jamaica. I wouldn't have gone to Guatemala. I wouldn't have gone to Native American. I wouldn't have done all that. And that's me. Me is not a coat and tie guy in America. You know, I lived in a school bus for 7 years. That is not my world. And after a while, I looked and think, you know, if she called now, I wouldn't say yes because my life would be uprooted. Here's what I do now. I run this beautiful 700 square foot botanical lounge in Chapel Hill.
Mm.
It's mostly young people because it's college town coming in every day that I mentor like I do. Then I see them daily.
Yeah.
They buy joints from me. They buy gummies from me. They buy kava from me. They, you know, and and there's a huge picture of Bob Marley. You know, we can see about getting the video for you when you're ready. You want me to hold the camera up, the video now and show it? Or you want to add that?
The video, the links that you sent me?
You want me to hold up my computer and give you a spin?
Sure, let's do that real quick.
So this is what the Oasis looks like.
So this is your business, and where are you located?
My business. There are my books. We're closed now. Can you see Bob's picture up there?
Oh, yeah.
So this is what it looks like. And all day long, people cool out here and remember why they came to the planet.
That's beautiful, man. Well, you're building something for people to find themselves.
Yeah, this has been my assignment for almost 11 years, and I love it daily. And after the Native American and doing these events, there's another Native American story how I helped the Hopi keep their covenant, but I don't know what is our time like. How much time we got left? How many more?
We have as much left as you want to do, brother.
All right, so I'm going to tell you.
Oh, this is an open-ended.
Because after then we're going to go to the prisons. I did 150 events in prisons. So the other thing, have you heard about the covenant of the Hopi Indians?
I don't know specifically which covenant.
The Hopi Indians are the only one of the few Native American tribes that were never taken off their land.
Mm-hmm.
And they were given a covenant 900 years ago when they arrived outside of Flagstaff on this barren piece of land. And they said, they asked the Creator, why have you brought us to this barren piece of land? There's 12 little springs from 12 little villages, but there's no lakes, there's no creeks, there's no game, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Creator 900 years ago said, we brought you here so no one will want your land. They're going, yeah, I can see that.
Well, what about us? We don't want it either.
Yeah, we were migrating. We went through Sedona, became the Anasazi. We went down to Guatemala and Belize and became the Mayans and the Incas and all like that. And now you want to make a final settlement outside, you know, in this barren piece of land. He says, no one's going to want your land. And you're going to create the last covenant. Buddha showed you how to be at peace with him. Jesus showed you how to be at peace in interpersonal relationships. You're going to show the world how to be peaceful among tribes.
Mm.
They said, well, how are we going to do that on this barren piece of land? They said, every clan that comes here into the 12 villages where the 12 springs are is going to have one ceremony. And each one of those ceremonies is going to give one piece of human wisdom so that it doesn't get lost in what is called Keonisquatsi. There's actually a movie made called Keonisquatsi. Keonisquatsi is world in chaos. I think you and I would agree we're there.
We're there.
Yeah, when we get to Keonisquatsi, we need you and several other tribes to hold human wisdom. The other tribes are the Kogis and the Kiros of South America, the Tibetan Buddhists, the Maoris, and the Aborigines.
Mm.
They say, well, how are we going to hold this wisdom? Everyone's going to have a ceremony that's going to show another piece of wisdom. Wisdom about generosity, wisdom about, respect for women, wisdom about good child rearing. And every one of their wonderfully fun, and I've been invited to several of them. Some the public can go to, others you have to be a Hopi. And I was invited to one that was actually only for Hopis because I was working with the elders.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm writing all this up in the book that you read. And I get a call from the Hopi elder, and he said, when I was doing concerts with reggae artists in the Hopi Veterans Hall, and they'd already had like 80 concerts with every well-known reggae artist. There's only two things to do in Hopi land: high school football and reggae concerts.
That's
I was
cool.
bringing Abijah in. I was bringing, I think, Intervision in, all like that.
Yeah.
To big tribe and say, you're the covenant tribe. And this music is bringing you together as Hopi, Navajo, Tewa, white people, all in this auditorium, all in this veterans hall.
Yeah.
To get you to the point where you're going to be all people peaceful, which is what Hopi means, all people peaceful. So the elder would call me and say, they're going after our water, do a concert before the vote. They're going after our coal, do a concert before the vote. Then the big one came. They're going after our traditional leadership. They want to take all the leadership and put it in Kaikat-Smovi, which is the Babylon-oriented village, so that all the elders in the other 11 villages can't vote. And if they get this passed, we're going to lose the elders' power forever. So I decided I'm going to have a concert out there. But what happens next was kind of unique. The next thing that happens is we find out that the 11 Hopi elders from the mother village are getting quite concerned, and they're using email. If you could imagine Hopi elders using email.
Yeah.
And they said, Robert, we'll let you join the email list with the 11 elders, but you're not to input it or say anything. You just can listen, because as this vote's getting close, they're getting angry that they can lose all their power.
Yeah.
Finally, they were getting so angry at the fact that it looked like people were going to vote them out of power that I injected into it, and I just said, look, there's such anger coming from the 11 of you that if you lose this vote with peace in your heart, you completed the covenant. But if you win this vote with this level of anger towards the ones that are in this other village, you've broken your covenant. And I said, that's just my point of view. As a teacher of love, you need to back off. And it's all in the book. And Radford Kohomnawat says, okay, Robert, what would you suggest? I said, I would suggest going to the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama lost his whole country, lost everything, and he came back with love and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
He has the moral authority to tell your elders, back off. I called the Dalai Lama's office, couldn't get him. Can't get him. But he said to me, well, there's a close associate of the Dalai Lama who spent 20 years in prison in China named Garshan Rinpoche.
Mm-hmm.
And Garshan Rinpoche happens to have an ashram in Arizona.
Wow.
Why don't you call Garshan Rinpoche and ask him, would he give you a letter that can be read before the vote? So let me find my book. So I call up Garshan Rinpoche and arrange for the elder to go out and meet with them, but it gets better than that. So Garshan Rinpoche meets with the Hopi elder, and let's see if I can find it quickly. Anyway, there's a picture of him in here.
Yeah.
And I sent a reporter from the Gallup newspaper with the Hopi elder to the ashram so that she could report what Garshan Rinpoche told the elder before the vote came up.
Yeah.
And on his way home after spending the night at the ashram, he calls me up. The Hopi elder calls me and he said, Robert, he sounded just like you. I said, Radford, for a Hopi elder to tell me that I don't need any more validation than that.
I think that's beautiful.
I said, that's a feather in my cap. Thank you. And he said, and he told us that come from love, trust the Creator, do not hate your brothers who are trying to steal the power. It got written up in the Gallup paper a week before the vote. They won the vote.
Beautiful, man.
Won the vote. So again, I'm being used inadvertently to me to bring this message of one love wherever I was sent. Native American, Guatemala, prison system, in Jamaica.
Well, the reason you're being used is because you're listening.
Because of what?
Because you're listening. Because, everyone has the ability to receive this level of guidance, but when these, let's say, beings or ascended masters or wherever it is we receive this guidance from, when they notice someone listening, then they continue to talk. you continue to receive the guidance.
It is. And here's the next rule set. The way they will communicate with you is two main ways. Epiphanies within. Like, Robert, go down to Jamaica and offer a free concert, a free gathering of the peacemakers in Bob's backyard.
Yeah.
Or they will give you serendipitous thing like, we're going to put his sons in your path so we can get to their grandmother. You see
Right.
it? So either when serendipitous things on the outside of you or epiphanies on the inside, you will be guided to what they want you to do. And I didn't know this, but when I was younger, as I said, Hugh Hefner was once my if you can imagine,
Yeah.
role model. And then when I started to become spiritual, in the last 20 years, 25 years, I've totally understood this as a working rule set.
Mm.
And the rule set was also discovered by the following people, and I have their pictures up here. There's only really about 10 internationally accepted teachers of love.
Mm-hmm.
People of color. Bob Marley, Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali, Christ, Buddha, Gandhi, Krishna, these beings.
Sure.
Now, not the ascended masters like Krishna and Buddha and Jesus, but the other ones like Mandela
Yeah.
and like Bob Marley and like Martin Luther King.
Sure.
They didn't know this in their 20s. And they heard the call and they made a decision that I'm going to offer forgiveness and love no matter where I'm sent, whether it's a street in Selma, Alabama, whether it's a ghetto in Soweto, Africa, whether it's bringing my message like Bob did to the world, whether it's Muhammad Ali becoming the best known figure in the world and then coming forward with love, as he did with that, and for all people. Yeah. Whether it was Gandhi who freed the people in his country, though unfortunately it was cut up into other countries. But you see, what they discovered is what we're talking about now. They discovered that if you will ask to be used and offer love and forgiveness in every situation when you're sent, you will transform the situation to a certain degree. So that's
beautiful, man.
It is an ancient rule set.
Yeah.
This is a rule set that they discovered in their early 20s. I discovered via LSD and other things in my youth. And then I've road tested this thing, as you know, Evan, for 30 years now. And my moral authority is not because this is just a philosophy, which it would have been if I maybe just hooked up with just because I've been road testing it.
Well, you've been living it and you've been achieving it and you've been seeing the miracles and living the miracles and lived to tell the story very eloquently. I have a question for you before we go. I'd like to know, as someone that has been so guided through their life, what's Spirit asking of you next? Are you getting some inclinations of some big things on the horizon for you? Are you just living in present where you are now and not considering that? Or what does that feel like to you?
Well, both. This is a big step, being contacted by you. Here's my life. I run this place 10 years. I have a beautiful home that's 4 minutes away. My daughter and son-in-law leave their Cole, Montana home every year to live in my
That's
apartment.
A sweet life, man.
And run this place with me. So the three of us run it. And they go back to Montana as they are now in the summertime. And every day I come and magic happens.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, and I don't want to travel a lot anymore, especially now. I don't want to go through customs. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I really don't want big things and travel things. So I made that video that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'd like to get my information out that way.
Yeah.
I'd like to get my information out by making a video in the beauty of my own facility and expressing what I want without having to travel. And I think I had 85 views.
Yeah.
And then
we're gonna help those numbers, brother. And you're right. We live in, you know, the technological advancement we have now with the internet and the cameras on people's phones and podcasts and YouTube. It's like there are people who are tremendously well distributed and their words listened to from the comfort of their homes, and that's very, very possible. But what you said to me just now, that this is a big part of it being contacted by me. I'm going to probably tell you something that you already know. I'm feeling there's, you know, we meet people in our lives and we have these long adventurous journeys and friendships, and then we've gone years and years without talking, but still are right back at square one, right? But you never know when your true work or karma or something with someone is about to begin. And I feel like there's some work that we do have to do together, and I'm excited to explore what that reality is in the future, brother.
I would love that. I would love that to tie in with my daughter and son-in-law, who are in your age group, and like you, or made a full-time commitment to bring this forward. So I hope maybe there's a place where, you know, I can ride on you guys' youths. You know, at 76, I don't want to do a lot of things you guys.
Well, you deserve to have whatever situation that feels comfortable to you. 100%.
Yeah. And I think that I sent you a video of my daughter.
Yeah.
So about a 4-minute video of her telling her view of all this and what she's done in her life. And they show a picture of her husband, everything. I would hope that you would add that to this thing.
Okay, sure.
There may be a real connection between you and Alicia and James as well. Because you're, you know, and because we're all on the same path, and we all respect each other because we made a full-time commitment to this.
I feel the magic coming through, brother, and I'm excited for it. I will play that clip here at the end of the podcast now that people have a nice preface of you know, the story here, so it'll be a perfect segue into that.
And let me close up with 2 or 3 other miracle stories.
Let's do it.
We went to Guatemala, and we worked in Guatemala to with the Mayan elder in Guatemala, and brought their message of one love forward, which was incredible. And then I get a letter from a prisoner in a prison in North Carolina, wanting to know would I please bring the vibe to the Rasta community in prisons. And that led to, I'll show you a picture, which another one of those magical pictures. If you can see it, here is my wife at the time and I with one of the Rasta groups in the prison in North Carolina.
That's cool.
And here's what we did. We would go there. I did 150 events in maximum security prisons.
Wow.
3 prisons once a month for 5 years. Right? And the wardens in all 3 prisons said, you can have anything you want, ever you want to come here. And here's what I would do. This shows you the incredible ability of love to heal. This group of Rastas said, would you host a concert for the whole prison with reggae artists? I said, I'll tell you what, I got friends in Asheville, Oregon, Laura Reed, Deep Pocket. I got a Bamboo Station, from Bamboo Station.
Yeah.
We're traveling through. I said, I'll do it on one condition. Once all 500 prisoners have settled down and are in their chairs in the gym, and you're in the front row, I want you to stand up and turn to your other prisoners and say, you made a commitment to teach love in this prison. Maximum security prisoners don't do that.
Yeah.
I said, it's a rough
thing
right.
in there.
I said, if you will do that, that's the price I want you to commit to break the vibe.
Yeah. And
here's what happened. They would do that at every concert. And we didn't do 150 concerts. We did 150 gatherings.
Yeah.
We did about 8 concerts with the whole group. The prisoners would come in, Bob Marley's performing on the wall, breaks their vibe. Because, these are, these are housed in separate rooms because they're too violent to be housed in a dorm.
Sure.
But they come in, they're whites here, blacks here, Chicanos here, Native American here, fresh dried. And then the group would stand up and say, the spokesperson for the group would say, we've brought this to you because we want to tell you from this moment on, we're devoted to bringing peace and love into this facility so we can all be happier. Then they turn it over to me. And the first thing I would say is, and one of you would be in this prison today if you'd gotten enough love as a child. So they instantly knew I got them. Man. I knew what they were coming from. This was not something, and everyone flashed back to being hurt or beat or whatever by somebody. And I said, I'm going to give you 3 tools to get out of prison. I look at the guards in the back with their shotguns. So it's not real tools. It's emotional tools.
Yeah.
First tool is if you will teach love in this yard, you're free. And if you're not teaching love, even if you're on the outside driving around in a limo, you're going around in your own prison of forgetting who you are and why you came.
Yes, sir.
So the second thing is if you think you can't know real joy until you get out, 60% we're never going to get out.
Yeah.
I say real joy is watching your love extend and heal another person.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the entire band has gone through the security, which took an hour and a half, make sure there's no little joint left in the guitar case. When I get paid by the Department of Prisons, they've come from Asheville. Takes the whole day in order to sound check, get in here, do the whole thing. For what reason? The joy that they feel for what they can offer you.
Yeah.
The third tool is if you think your creator is judging you for whatever was done to you, whatever you've done, creator loves all his children equally.
You are forgiven.
And with that, if the warden would allow them, when that band hit the first song, often a Bob Marley song, if they'd allow them to, the whole group would stand up and be giving love back to us. They were now teachers of love. You see it? So if you can take in 2 or 3 minutes and turn the most dysfunctional part of humanity into a teacher of love by coming and presenting that face of one love to them, that's how quickly we can heal this planet, Evan. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
we're doing it, brother.
Over and over again. And that worked out so well that the wardens told me, whenever you want my people, and here's what they told me. They said, look, I get my bonuses by how little violence there is on the block. So whenever you want to come, you can come because you're bringing down the violence.
You're lining my pockets with this love thing. This is smart.
So, that rolled out. And then what happened, and this is the last chapter, then what happened is after that, my wife and I got to the point that she's an extreme introvert. I'm an extreme introverted extrovert.
Sure. I'm
not big on socializing. I don't go out and do social stuff too much, but I'm definitely out doing my work. Yeah. Someone invited me to their wedding recently. I said, look, it's like inviting Jesus to the wedding. I said, I don't make small talk.
Yeah.
I said, not that I'm at his level, but look, you don't want, you can love Jesus, but you don't want him hanging around at the wedding when everybody's making small talk and nervous chatter with each other. Sure. I said, that's not what I do. My work is here at this counter. Yeah. This is a little area where I do what I can every day, and everyday magic happens here, and so she's an introvert, and we just decided, we're 65 years old. Who knows how much time? We're definitely in the latter chapters. Why don't you just go do what you really want to do without having to worry about my needs, and I'll do the same.
Yeah.
She bought a house in Durham. She got a beautiful garden. She does meditation. She does yoga, all like that. I bought my house in Chapel Hill. I opened up this place, and this was magical.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave you with this last miracle story. And the main thing, I'm a little boastful. I have to admit, I do have an ego. But the main thing is when you think back to what I'm saying, you'll think, how could all those miracles have happened if it wasn't valid? Mm-hmm. Just too many miracles he mentioned. Yeah. How could he save the Grand Canyon? How could he have gotten Bob Marley's museum? How could that 1 out of 7 billion names blocked it? Until you realize, I think this is a rule set. I think this is a viable rule set. I tried to open this place, Evan, 58 years ago in Chapel Hill as a hippie.
Wow.
At a hippie coffee shop. City of Chapel Hill didn't want that. There's big fraternity school. and they didn't like the hippies were starting to grow their hair here. And I rented a building. They demanded I put in a sprinkler system. I couldn't afford it. So at 22 years, it folded.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm living in a RV outside on land that I sold my cousin back in the 1980s, 12 miles from where I'm sitting, and wondering, what am I going to do with my life now that I don't have any other person to, figure out what they want.
Right.
What am I going to do? And it hits me, I'm going to open up that hippie coffee shop.
Yeah.
2 years earlier, I tried to open it in Mount Shasta, but a tea shop had just opened in Mount. When I went up to see you at Ashland,
man, I wish you were there. Then we could hang out.
I told Julia when we left Ashland after the gathering, the Peacemakers, let me think about opening that coffee shop, tea shop.
Yeah.
In Mount Shasta, and they had just opened up a tea shop there.
Yeah.
And we went home to Boone, North Carolina. We were living at the time. I'll be damned, they just hadn't opened one there. And I figured, I guess it ain't going to happen. Then I moved to Chapel Hill, and I thought, yeah, this is the place to open it. And I knew where I wanted to open it. This is an old mill, quiet, peaceful, distinctive thing. No line of people waiting to get coffee, no traffic out there. I said, it's got to be in Carmel Mall. Wow. I instantly, when I got that, and I'd given up. But what happens, I went down here, everything's full. There's not an open space in Carmel Mall.
Yeah.
And after 2 months looking all over Chapel Hill, couldn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke and I gave up. And then here's the epiphany. I got up one morning, and out of nowhere, they sent me a message. They, being from the other side of the veil, sent me a message, call Carmel Mall anyway. And I called the manager and I said, look, I know you don't have any openings, but I'm looking for 1,000 square foot coffee shop to open up. And I know there's no openings in the mall, but I just thought I'd call and tell you. And he says to me, funny, you should have called me. A few days ago, I made a decision that a woman that's got a 705 square foot coffee shop, I want her out because she's not a retail space. She's making pastry.
Wow.
Give me 3 months, you can take it over.
Wow.
And that's
meant to be, man. Meant to be.
That's this place. So what will happen next? Who knows what you and I haven't seen each other in 11 years. It didn't matter. It's like I saw you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I love those kind of friendships, man. Those are the only kind I like. The high maintenance ones are hard for me.
Yeah. So we'll see what else is meant to be. I'm very thankful that you've helped me get the message out. Yeah. I can tell you right now, once you understand the way the universe is set up and who a human being is and why you incarnated at this time, this is the crucial time, and what the assignment is to learn and teach love and the assistance and the miracles you'll be given, then your life becomes equally as mystical. And that's the core message that I want to get out. And I can prove it because I didn't think of all this.
You lived it, man. Yeah.
I didn't think of all of it. So thank you, my dear brother, for helping me.
So beautiful, man.
I see your mother's name liking my post all during the month. I always get a kick because your mom likes the posts.
Well, it's been incredible having you on, man. I'm just so happy for you and truly inspired. You look great. Your energy is as great as it was 11 years ago. It's even better. So just keep doing what you're doing and living your magic and inspiring others to do the same. Thank you. And will you and I now communicate about getting the other video to you? Yeah, I'll figure that all out. We'll do all that in the next couple of days. Yep, I'll figure that all out. So for all the listeners out there, if they want to find your books or get in touch with you, is there a website out there that you'd suggest or just no? All right. Well, if my books on Amazon somewhere out, my favorite book, this one is $60 because there's so few available. But my Rasta Heart book and the hippie book are $2, $3. They're out there. Well, we'll find some links and we'll put those links in the foot of the description for people to go check out your works. Yeah. And
reach to me at email. I probably won't answer because it's just too much technology, and I got to run this place every day. So unless it's something they want me to bring the vibe to something they're doing, please let me know by making sure the subject matter says, I'd like to talk to you about helping you spread your message. Then I can catch it because I'm getting 200-300 emails a day.
I love it.
Same here.
Well, this is the Living Indubiously podcast. Robert Roskind, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for being here, man, and we will be in touch.
Take care, my brother. Right.
Whatever you focus upon becomes your truth.
Now, my masterpiece, which I'm not fully responsible for, is my daughter, Alicia. And she came to town the last few days, and I wanted to get her in here. So she's not, of course, her mother had a big hand in who she is and other people. And she's also got 4 Rastafarian grandfathers in Jamaica. You're going to meet them in the rest of the show. So I thought, oh, good, let me put my daughter, say a few words to you. So this is my masterpiece.
Well, as I sit here right now, I feel like we're in this time of great turmoil. I'm seeing it all around us. I'm seeing it with the shifts politically, but I'm also seeing in the natural world this incredible organization that's coming together. And when I say the natural world, I don't just mean that in nature, but in people too. The people are getting ideas. They've had ideas. They've been working on them for years, some underground, some in bigger ways. But now we're finding that as things get more churned up and more chaotic and more crazy than ever, people are going to be ready for new solutions, and they're going to be ready for these technologies that are coming out that were already existing, and that they're going to be ready finally to see these things. And I think that's some of the technology that he'll talk about later, and also just choosing our own technology that's in our own bodies through meditation, through working with our DNA, through our thoughts and our mind. We're able to bring our lives more alive, more joyful, and more full of love every day. And so it is truly a choice that we make every day that changes our DNA, then heals our own bodies, to choose to be in love despite all of that is swirling around us, that we are the beacons, that we are the grounding points that ground that message of love, that ground the joy in this world and brings it forward. So I encourage you to continue on the path of love, and also ask, how can I contribute to these new ways of being that can bring us together in beautiful ways that we could have never imagined.